I'd like to welcome you all as well. And I'd like to thank David Leela for stepping in to do this service with me. Parvati was scheduled to do it with me, but she's just on a tail end of dealing with some cold symptoms. So she wanted to be sure that I sent you her love and blessings. So, this reading from Paramhansa Yogananda's book of Prayer Demands, Whispers from Eternity, is indeed a continuation of the chant that we took into meditation, I will be thine always. I may go far, farther than the farthest star, but I will be thine always. Devotees may come, devotees may go, but I will be thine always. I may bound over billows of many lives under sad, dark skies of loneliness, but I will be thine always. The whole world may ignore thee, engrossed as it is in thy gifts of money, power, and pleasure, mere playthings, but I will be thine always. Take everything from me if thou wilt, but Lord, I will be thine always. Death, disease, and every imaginable trial may riddle and rend me, yet while the embers of memory still flicker, look into my dying eyes. They will mutely say, I will be thine always. My voice may grow feeble, fail, and forsake me, and yet with bursting heart and with the silent voice of my soul, I will ever whisper to thee, my Lord, I am thine always. So nice. So the reading today is a real good one in a very practical way, that it allows us to really feel that we can move forward. But sometimes things don't always work together to support that. I was thinking of this posting I saw years ago of a church bulletin. So this is true, posting in a church bulletin. It said, don't let worry kill you off, let the church help. And that sometimes is what happens. Even the best situations, sometimes even what seems to be spiritual, can surround itself maybe not in such a supportive way. If we're taking those teachings not such in the clearest way possible. But yesterday morning I was out, I wouldn't say in my yard because our yard is more the forest than the yard, but I was picking up branches and sticks from the ground, clearing them off for fire hazard prevention. And even at 8:30 in the morning, as you remember yesterday morning, it was hot, just as it is this morning. And so I had full length pants on, full long sleeve t-shirt and a hat on. And I was sweating just walking up to where I was picking up the branches. And so I cradled my arms so to get maximum amount of branches and sticks in so that I could really have a pile. And that was building up and I was getting there. And it was a gentle slope in the ground that I was working around, and there were piles of dirt. And suddenly I stumbled, and half of my wealth of sticks got dumped on the ground. And I laughed softly, and I said softly out loud, does this really need to happen, Master? I mean, why? I mean, we've all had those situations. What is this for? And so I thought, well, I may not be able to answer that, or I could answer it, but that doesn't really matter. What I tuned into is, what do I do about this? So I carefully picked up the bundle of branches and sticks, cradled them again, and then made it sure I was paying attention to my ground a little bit more. And I walked it off and dumped it into the burn pile, which has to wait till winter to be burned. And I was thinking, don't we often encounter situations where we really don't have the foggiest idea what's happening? Maybe it's from karma, maybe it is a lesson, but it's not like we have to work out the details of what's going on. Because the guarantee is, as Swamiji's reading today that David Leela read to us, it's a guarantee we're going to have spiritual tests. It's a guarantee we're going to have tests of all levels. But for devotees, any test is a spiritual test. It's not like we separate them out. Oh, this bunch, they're just on the mundane level. They're just, those tests. And then there's the spiritual test. But really, as devotees, anything that comes to us, the test is an opportunity to say, where am I going with this? What am I doing in my life? How can I expand and open up? We had our annual Spiritual Renewal Week that was convened at the end of July this year. And we had wonderful speakers. And one of them was Arya, who, among a few others, is one of those special teachers in the Ananda School of Yoga and Meditation. And her talk was just inspiring and very creative. And she wove into it the yoga postures. And so I'm going to acknowledge her and give deep appreciation because I'm going to run a little bit with that same theme. So thank you, Arya. But for many years ago, I taught a lot of yoga postures classes, yoga asana classes to the public, certainly here at the Expanding Light Retreat and certainly at the Meditation Retreat, but also in a lot of other public settings. I was remembering that when Parvati and I were spiritual directors at Ananda Portland many years ago, that I got this opportunity to do this 8-week series of yoga postures for the administrative office personnel at a chain of restaurants in Portland called Sherry's. It's funny, I just actually remembered the name of the restaurant this morning before I drove over. And they actually gave me a nice polo shirt with Sherry's on it. And one of the poses that was always intriguing to do with people for various reasons is the pose called Vrikasana in Sanskrit, commonly known as the tree pose. It's one of the standing balance poses that we have. And for a number of people, I'm probably underestimating when I say a number of people, it can be a challenging pose. You're standing there on one leg, and then you're placing your knee out to the side on the other leg. And there's a variety of different positions where you can put that, the sole of that foot with the knee going out to the side. And yet people often will be, especially if they're new to it, whether they're young or older, and they'll be kind of wobbly and shaking a little bit. Or they'll simply outright stumble and fall. Or they'll just be so tense about it that they feel locked out of the possibility. And so what I'd often do with everybody, because I included everybody, even those that were proficient in doing this standing balance pose, to step back and explore some possibilities. And because the affirmation, the mental affirmation that Swami Kriyananda suggests for this pose, Vikrasana tree pose, is, I am calm, I am poised. I am calm, I am poised. And so I thought, well, now that's interesting. I am calm, I am poised. And there's a real difficulty with feeling that that's who I am in this pose, because the pose is not working out so well. And so I just have everyone, again, the people that were having a difficult time, the people that were proficient. Because I thought this could work for everybody and give them a deeper experience of it, whatever level they were at. So I had them go beside a wall, and I had them just simply place a hand on the wall, comfortably. So immediately they had a feeling of support. They realized, so already I can relax a little bit more. And then I said, okay, just find that center within, feel comfortable within, and let's do the next step. And again, as I said, there are a variety of places where the other sole of the foot can be placed as the knee goes out. You can just put the toes down and the heel into the inside of the ankle. And then you can come up with that hand on the wall supporting you, come into a pronoun position, or you can bring your hand up in this position. So that was pretty comfortable for everybody. And then I said, so in this position, look at a point in front of you to stabilize your balance. And then I said, don't so much think, but feel from inside the calmness and the poise. And people were really comfortable with that. They were feeling, this is real, this is an experience. I've taken this step. And for the people that were proficient, it was interesting because they backed away from just getting the pose accomplished into simplifying it into that experience of deep calmness and poise. It was very interesting. And then I said, if you want to explore, challenge yourself a little bit more, you can move that sole of that foot maybe into the calf area. See what happens there. If you're feeling wobbly, return back to the simple position. And so I encourage people to not just be okay with the pose, but find that centeredness within, and then add to the exploration a challenge. To see if it was appropriate to go further, but still retain the calmness and poise. It was always a fascinating adventure with people to do this, because I wasn't really instructing them. I wasn't really giving them much guidance. And after the initial few words, I was really letting them just come to the experience that was trying to come out from their inner self. It wasn't trying to achieve something, but moving to the experience of refining what the body could help us with. And then I said to them, so throughout the day, explore this balance. Maybe you're not going to stand in this position, or you could, you're standing in the bus line and you're doing this. You could do that. It's appropriate, maybe. But always we can take into focus, I am calm, I am poised. Now, it seems like the little step seems very little, just having the simple position. But you know, that's often the key to making it real and deeper, is to be alive when it's more simple. I was just reading something of Paramhansa Yogananda, one of the transcriptions from his talk. There's a new volume out of his transcribed talks from Self-Realization Fellowship. And he was saying, you know, when you face challenges, talk to yourself out loud. I'd never seen that before, I never heard that from him. But talk to yourself out loud. And so that's what I was doing. I was saying, do I really need to have all these branches fall from me? But it's a way of encouraging a little bit more of a relaxed, nuanced experience. And also the ability to laugh, to be with Master, to feel Yogananda's presence. Not so much, there's Yogananda, and he's looking down at me because I've blown something. But no, you're there with me, experience this, that I've stumbled, I've wobbled, I've fallen. But to invite that experience in. Because the more that we're able to do simple things in that way, then it gets the momentum and the magnetism moving. It gets us, in a sense, we're allowing ourselves to be more of who we are. We're not adding on to who we are. I mean, balance, in a sense, is a tricky one, because you can see it from different perspectives. But in the deepest understanding of it, balance is when you're normally yourself inside without any conflict. And so it's not so much if we are in balance, we're going to add balance. We're just orienting ourselves to a deeper sense of who we are and allowing that to be expressed, in this case, in our bodies. But isn't it true with our minds that we have imbalances at times? So the question isn't whether we have imbalance or not, whether physically or mentally or emotionally. What are we doing? Where are we going with our focus? What are we opening up to as our experience? And the more that we do that, the more that we can really feel enlivened in that. You know, lately I've just had the gift of going through a lot of physical things. Not necessarily major ones, but enough to be distractive. And one of them, I was in this simple procedure, and I was in the waiting room, and the 3 people that come in the waiting room after me were allowed in before I was in. Again, does this really need to happen? And so I was alone there, besides the staff behind the desk, the counter. So I thought, I'm going to do some yoga postures here. And so I did, because I knew I was going to be in this procedure, and I thought, I'm just going to fine-tune my body. So I did a few simple yoga asanas in the room, and then I sat and meditated. And luckily, maybe it was because I meditated that finally they came and got me and processed me. But when they got me ready and then they wheeled me into the operating room, I was just thinking, well, these people are here to really serve in a nice way with me. And so I said, you know, the best thing in this thing is all of you. And they said, oh, thank you. And I said, the second best thing is the little socks that they give you to wear to keep your feet warm. And they laughed at that. And then when the doctor came in to do the procedure, and he said, okay, we're going to sedate you now. I said, the third thing that's really good is being sedated during this process. And then one of the women assistants said, what were the other two things again? I said, all of you being so nice to me, and the socks. And just before they were going to put the sedation into my IV, I said, thank you so much for doing this. And one woman said, no, thank you, it's job security. And it was just a light way to have that interchange with somebody, to really, you know, instead of being a test, it was just an experience that we could open up to. And then I had to have some dental work. Some old ancient crown had to be replaced. And it was hard for them to get it out. And when they did get it out, I heard them laugh, the dentist and the dental assistant. And so I couldn't talk. And so when I was able to actually talk, I said, so what were you laughing about at that point? And they said, oh, this interesting thing happened. When we took out the crown, there was this little tiny absorbent that was in there, left in there by mistake by the dentist. This is like 25 years ago. And so I laughed and I said, well, must have been a bad day for that dentist. And then I said, but we won't assess any blame. And he immediately picked up and said, yes, it's so easy to blame others, but let's not. Let's forgive and let that go. But it was just a sweet little exchange, very simple. And then I had this opportunity, because this particular dental clinic does a new crown in one visit. So a lot of the dentists, they take out the old one, they take a mold, and then you have to come back to have it, because they're going to bake it in an oven. Well, these guys had all the facilities to do it in one day. So there was this time gap where I was going to be for 35 minutes or 40 minutes just sitting there. And they said, you can go for a walk, or you could read, you know, a magazine. I said, no, I'm going to meditate. So if you've been in a dentist chair recently, you know, the best position is that it slopes like that. It doesn't go up all the way. And I said, oh, that's too bad. And then they said, I'll get you a pillow. So I was poised with a really straight back, and I meditated. And the assistant came in to say, you know, we could go over your financial payment. I said, no, I'm going to meditate. Which is a better choice. Always a better choice. And so she said, oh, yes, that's right, sorry. You know, and she left me to meditate. And it actually was a very deep meditation. This is true, I think, for some of us, or maybe all of us. I know for me over the years, I found this. When you're in an odd situation, a peculiar setting, not necessarily conducive to meditation from the usual perspective, it actually, because of that, you can meditate more deeply. It's like you know you have to go in there and meditate. You can't be dawdling and daydreaming as much because you're just in this odd situation. And so I had a very deep meditation. It was only 30, 35 minutes long, but it was deep. And I thought, it was just taking this challenge and saying, what do I get to do? How can I approach this? How can I open up to something that's more beneficial, that's more real, not only on the outer level, which was significant, but inside, in my soul level. What was I resonating with? What was I really coming to the focus here in this situation? But for all of us, we always have that possibility. And sometimes Well, this is an honest understanding that there are times when we have situations where we feel stymied, we feel blocked. I mean, even in meditation, where that's supposed to be the thing that allows us to get out of being stymied and blocked. And in itself is blocking us. Curious, isn't it? It's sort of like the church wanting to help and killing you with worries kind of thing. But it's curious, isn't it? And we can't necessarily fathom what's going on from our usual intellect, and maybe not even from our intuition. We're a little bit stumbling, dropping our branches. Those are the times where you have to trust that moving towards where you want to be will help you, maybe not immediately, but in the long run. It's just those little steps at those times when it feels almost fruitless to move forward. But if you just say, no, it's like with meditation. There are times it just feels, maybe because of real serious situations of pain or post-operative conditions, where you really can't meditate. Or just maybe because you've got hit by a tremendous tsunami of a mood. Whatever. There are times when we feel we can't do anything. And meditation maybe doesn't seem like it's possible. But we can always say to Master, this is yours. I'm fading out here. You meditate. You carry me. You bring me along, even if I'm subconscious. But it's yours to be with me. And I trust you. My heart's open to you, even when my heart even feels dark at times, and I feel it's closed off. The continuance of what we set in motion will be there in a productive way when we hit those points. Because it's almost a guarantee we will hit those points. And not to be frustrated, not to feel that, not mine, I'm giving in. Just to say, I am in movement. This point may be a stalled point, but I am in movement behind the scenes. And Master, more than just being in the movement, he's fully embracing me. Divine Mother is fully inviting me to a deeper experience. We always have that possibility. That's how we deal with our tests. Even when it feels, again, we're abandoned, we can always say, I'm giving this to you, Divine Mother. I'm giving this to you, Master. It's yours. And when I can, I'll continue as well. And that's the real gift to all of us as devotees, that we feel that. It's a very personal, real experience. And it's never a hopeless situation. It's never that we're abandoned, even if we feel that strongly. Just that little kernel of, but I know my soul is not caught here. It's just the rest of me. And we can just say, I'm doing what I can, and I'm in movement, and Divine Mother and Guru will take me the rest of the way. Let's always live in that spirit, and our tests will be the opportunities. Blessings.
Come gather round, let joy sing out today. Dawn now is breaking, and the mountains say, it's only light can make the darkness run. Lift up your head, greet the rising sun. Greet the rising sun. Some people think to harvest happiness by weeding troubles, easing every stress. The trouble the world around. Wind on a hill sounds lonely if you're sad, free if you're free, cheerful if you're glad. Cheerful if you're glad. Friends, come with me. We'll chant of battles won, shouts not of anger. Joy will be our gun. Before the light, the veils of sorrow rend. In inner freedom, all delusions end. All delusions end.
This song is called The Temptation of Christ, and it's from Swami Kriyananda's oratorio.
Behold all the wonders God's grace can bestow, if you but reclaim what you've given. Why not ask of God any wonder you crave? Worship me to satisfy all human needs. Dominion now over all this noble earth. All I ask of you is worship me. Get thee behind me, Jesus declared. Satan, know you not our Father offers love in your stead. His gift of love to all is my only food. He's all I own. What does man need but him?
Then the darkness lifted, love destroyed Satan's power. Then at last the Savior could begin bringing all to God. For he taught them in freedom, wanting not in return. All he offered was perfect peace, perfect freedom of soul.
God is all I love. He's all there is. Wise is he who says, I am wholly his. God is all I fear. Lo, my throne of power, shaken by his love, was destroyed in that hour.
Throughout all the world, a new spirit was born. Jesus brought to men's hearts hope for those steeped in sin.
God is all